The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code SGPN to get a 50% bonus bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get a 10 for draw today. Link to sportsgambling.com, RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's currently Monday morning, roughly 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time on January 20th. I'm your host, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. It is the first episode of two we're going to have today. So we're going to do the men's quarterfinal matches. Then we're going to do the women's quarterfinal episode right after this. So the point is we have two tennis episodes and not one today. Now, before we get into the actual preview of the quarterfinals here in the Australian Open on the men's side, time to recap what happened last episode and what happened in the round of 16. Overall, a very good episode for us. Now, I don't just mean the lock and dog picks. I mean the actual, I'd say, predictions on pretty much all the matches. I thought went the way that we predicted, almost. There were a couple things we got slightly wrong, but I thought overall it was a good round for us. Starting off with the lock and dog pick, unfortunately, we ended up not sweeping, even though we called both matches perfectly, because Draper quit. We had Alcaraz in straight sets at minus 120 as our lock, and he was destroying Draper. He was easily going to win in straight sets. Then Draper eventually hurt his back and ended up quitting before the start of the third set. So Alcaraz was up 2-0, and it seemed like the match was going to be over in probably about 20, 30 minutes. And Draper said, you know what, I'm good. And he ended up quitting as his back was bothering him. So either way, Draper gave it a good run in the first set. He was getting destroyed. Then he made it interesting, but then Alcaraz eventually did break to win the set. Second set was lopsided, and then once again, Draper had nothing for the third set and didn't even try. So picked up a push there, despite calling the match perfectly. Very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Better than a loss, I guess. So once again, we pushed on the lock. For the dog, nice and easy winner with Sonego, minus 2.5 games at plus 110 against Tien. As he dominated, he won in 4 sets. Coasted the first 2 sets. Tien ended up getting a visit from the trainer with, I think it was a hamstring issue. Either way, though, point is Sonego was just too, I'd say, offensive against him. It just felt like he was too aggressive for Tien to handle. He came to the net a lot. He was able to unload on the forehand a lot. Kind of what I predicted for the actual match itself. Thought that Sonego was going to be too different from Tien's first 3 opponents and not in a good way for him. And I did think that you'd see Sonego once again force the issue, trying to get to the net, trying to end points quickly. And I just thought the Tien serve would have let him down. And it did, as Sonego won comfortably. So once again, nice win there for the dog. For the lock, we ended up not getting a win, not getting a loss. So an undefeated episode per se. Should have been a sweep, though, because Draper, once again, retiring was pretty unfortunate. Now, to get into the actual recap of the round of 16. For that, though, actually, I want to remind you once again that you can show support for the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube. I believe we're 1 subscriber away from 700, so hopefully you can help us get there. A reminder, though, if you do listen to the podcast audio only, that's fine, too. Don't forget to check out the podcast on Spotify or Apple. If you want the, once again, edited format of the show, and a reminder, you can leave a rating and a review when you do check it out on either of those platforms. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great tennis merchandise. We have shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs, different colors, all affordable. And once again, I think the clothing are all comfortable. So check that out on the merch store, not just for this show, but for the other shows of the network, the MLB show, NBA show. If you want to check out the college experience, they have, once again, merchandise as well. And a reminder that you can also find all of our picks on the SGPN network with the app. A reminder, check out the SGPN app for easy access to all of our free picks and our podcast. Free to download, by the way, on the App Store. So starting off with the actual recap of the round of 16. Said before, we got a lot right. So starting off with the first match, you had Paul against Fekina. Our favorite play was Fekina team total under. He won 3 games. So, yeah, that was really easy. Fekina had back-to-back 5-set wins where he came back from 2 sets down. He had nothing left in the tank. His legs were jello, but unlike Draper, he decided to play it out, and Paul beat him once again 6-1, 6-1, 6-1. Complete domination, and we got that match right. Alcaraz once again beat Draper 2 sets and then a retirement, so unfortunate, but we thought Alcaraz would win comfortably, and he did. We thought Zverev would win in 4 against Humbert, and he did. So Zverev ended up winning exactly in 4. Every set was lopsided, but Humbert pieced it together for about 35 minutes, and then Zverev went back to beating him comfortably, so Zverev did win in 4. We thought Joker was going to potentially beat Leheshka in straight sets. We thought that he figured it out, and we thought that Makic was a good prep match for Leheshka, and we were right, as Joker did win in straight sets. Then Sinner ended up winning in 4 against Rune. We thought he'd win in straight sets. That one we got slightly wrong. He got injured early on. Rune had a pretty decent chance to grab, I'd say, a stranglehold on the match when he had a chance to break in the third set. failed a couple times. Then Sinner eventually was taking injury timeout, took about 11 minutes, and then after that, you had a delay because the net was broken. There was a hole in the court, and they had to fix it. So the extra time off might have helped Sinner once again. But either way, point of Sinner, once he survived the early, I'd say, dangerous spot that he had in the third set, he kind of coasted, and Rune got injured as well, and Sinner eventually did beat him in 4. Sonego beat TN in 4, kind of what I thought we would end up seeing, as he ended up winning pretty comfortably, as TN really just did not have much to offer from the serve and the firepower. Sonego was on point, and now he's in his first ever Grand Slam quarterfinal. Besides that, Shelton beat Monfils in 3+ sets. Each of the first 3 sets were tie breaks, and then eventually Monfils did retire in the 4th set. I did think the Monfils was live, and I was not wrong there because the first 3 sets were tie breaks, and Shelton eventually did win that one or I should say won 2 of the 3 tie breaks, but Monfils was up a break in the 3rd, and they choked it. So the point is, I would say that we actually got a push here because we did like Monfils to win and both players to win a set, or I said that if you like either guy to win, then bet them both to win a set included to get bigger plus money. Unfortunately, that prop voided if you took it on FanDuel. So either way, point is ended up basically getting a void on that one. Match was going over as well. So unfortunately, that's a pretty bad beat. If he ended up having that, because technically the match ended up, or the total got voided because you didn't get there, and you ended up seeing Monfils retire. That is pretty unlucky, but either way, a point is you ended up seeing Shelton advance in 3+ sets, and then de Minaur ended up beating Mickelson in straight sets. Thought he would win. I did think Mickelson would win a set. That didn't happen, as de Minaur kind of dominated. Won the first 8 games. It was 6-0, 2-0. And then you ended up seeing a situation where Mickelson turned it around, actually made the set competitive, almost won the second set, ended up losing, and then de Minaur ended up coming back and winning in straight sets. The third set was pretty straightforward. So either way, Mickelson went from beating Khachanov in straight sets to getting destroyed, and now that's going to set us up for the quarterfinals. So overall, I'd say nothing was too shocking. We got a lot of it right. If you factored in which players we predicted to win just outright, we got basically everything right. The exception was Monfils against Shelton, but that did involve an injury, so that would have potentially voided. And I did say that I thought it would be an absolute war. So I said Monfils was live to win it, and I did think that Shelton, once again, could pull it out. It wasn't a shocking upset or anything, but I do think that Monfils had some chances, didn't capitalize it. Eventually, his body betrayed him in the heat there in Australia. But besides that, we got basically everything right in terms of wins and losses. So overall, good round for us. An undefeated episode for the Lock and Dog. Unfortunately, though, not a sweep, and we'll hopefully get a sweep here in the quarterfinals. And before we get into the actual quarterfinals here in the Australian Open, I want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by DraftKings because the playoffs are here. And a reminder that the NFC and AFC title games are coming up over the weekend. And a reminder that you can definitely bet on touchdown plays. So if you do want to try out DraftKings, official sports betting partner of the NFL, reminder, you can also try out touchdown betting. If you're ready to place your first bet, try something as simple as betting on a player to score a touchdown. If you want Josh Allen, for example, to score against the Chiefs over the weekend, go to DraftKings Sportsbook and make your pick. A reminder, though, that when you do sign up for your new account, new DraftKings customers get a great promo deal. Bet $5 to win $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code SGP. Code SGP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. A reminder, only DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Just finished recapping the round of 16. Time to move on into the quarterfinals. So I said before in the previous round we were going to cover some, not all, of the matches, and now we are officially in the territory to cover all the matches. So instead of saving a couple for the end of the show, I'll break down all 4, and then I'll just repeat some of the information that I shared earlier for the Lock and Dog pick. So starting off with the first match on the actual card. First match we're going to end up seeing is a matchup between Paul and Zverev. Now, Paul's been in great form so far in the event. So Zverev's minus 280, give or take. You can find Paul at plus 240. For the over-under, you have 39 or 38.5. For the spread here, you have Zverev minus 4.5, Paul plus 4.5. For the set spread, you have Zverev minus 1.5 sets at minus 130. You have Paul to win. Paul plus 1.5 sets at even money. And for the over 3.5 sets, you have a minus 185. So for that history, kind of surprising, Paul's actually 2-0 against Zverev. Now, they faced off a couple years ago, faced off in Indian Wells back in 2022, and Paul did win in 3 with a final set breaker. Faced off in Acapulco in 2020, and Paul did win in straight sets. Now, Zverev has only dropped 1 set in the entire event, dropped a set to Humbert in the last round. As for Paul, he dropped a couple sets early, then has been dominant as he's lost to less than 2 games in each of the last 5 sets. So Paul has been finding his groove lately. Now, I am going to point out that Fokina was once again compromised physically, and Baena was in good form, still not viewed as being a great hardcourt player. So the draw was pretty favorable for Paul later on in the tournament. As for Zverev, he had 3 qualifiers basically, followed by Humbert, and besides one, I'd say, set where he kind of just fell apart, he was phenomenal for 3 of the 4, so he ended up winning there in 4 sets. For this one, I think Zverev's the better player. If you want to talk about the actual opportunity that Zverev has here, he's still looking for his first Grand Slam title. Alcaraz does play Joker. I'll get into that match in a second. But the point is, one of those guys are going to lose. Sinner's a bit compromised physically. It is a good opportunity for Zverev to try to get over the hump to win his first ever Grand Slam. So we'll see if he can do so, but it is a good overall path. And we'll see if Zverev can potentially get by, or if he stumbles and gets upset by Paul here, for example, in the quarterfinals. Now, for the matchup, even though Paul is undefeated in the head-to-head, they were dated about 2-3 years ago, so not really going to factor that too much into it. However, I do think Zverev is the better player. Yes, Paul's played well. I do think that when you're looking at his opponents, though, in the tournament, his toughest opponent has been arguably Nishikori, who was struggling physically. You saw O'Connell take him 5, Nishikori took him 4, then he ended up beating Baena, ended up beating Fokina. So a pretty easy path for Paul up to this point, whereas Zverev's had an easy path too, but Humbert is still a dangerous guy. So once again, I do want to factor that in, that Paul has looked very sharp, but for a quarterfinalist, he really has not been tested that much in terms of draw. So it is a pretty decent step-up competition here for Paul. As for Zverev, it is a step up, but I think Humbert is still a solid player. So I think that Zverev should look sharp. But I see, once again, a pretty common theme for the podcast up to this point. We're going to go back to a prop that we do like for the overall tournament. It has been working out well for us. I think that Zverev's going to win. But I do like to add both players to win a set to it, because you can find yourself a nice plus money price. Zverev, for example, is about minus 285. If you throw in both players to win a set with the Zverev money line, it's plus 140. So I don't see Zverev winning in straight sets. I think Paul will be able to find his groove for at least, let's say, 50 minutes, where he should be able to outlast Zverev in a set. But I think it could go 5. It wouldn't shock me. I think Zverev, though, has looked like the better player. I think Zverev is the better server between the two. And I do think that Zverev is, in my opinion, the better all-around guy, despite being 0-2 in the head-to-head. So going to be a close matchup that might go 5, so I don't mind the over in this one, but I am going to go with Zverev to get the job done in what I think should be a 4 or a 5-set war. Moving on to the next match on the card. For the next match, you have a match between Djokovic and Alcaraz. So this will be the second match of the Monday-Tuesday morning card. Then you have the other 2 matches the day after. So keep that in mind. Now, for this one, this is definitely the match of the tournament. You could argue that these are the best 2 players here besides Sinner, and that whoever actually wins this match should be able to make it into, once again, a pretty interesting overall spot to win the entire event. Now, for the actual path here for both guys quickly, Alcaraz has looked sharp, did drop a set in one of the previous rounds as he ended up dropping a set to Borges, but that's the only set he's dropped. So he's been very good. Beat Draper, beat Borges, beat Nishioka, and beat Shevchenko. Probably should have dropped a set to Shevchenko there in the second set, but he came back from a breakdown, and he won that 1-7-5. So Joker, though, struggled a bit early, beat Basafaretti, and beat Faria in 4. Then he was flipping a switch, and he became Joker of old. Beat Makic in straight sets and beat Leheshka in straight sets. So both guys have been very sharp lately, and we'll see how that translates into the head-to-head matchup here on Tuesday morning. Now, for this one, Alcaraz about minus 205. Joker is around plus 175 for the spread here. You have minus 3.5 for Alcaraz. You have plus 3.5 for Joker. The over-under is about 39.5 or 40. Now, for the set spread here, you have Alcaraz minus 1.5 sets at plus 105. You have Joker plus 1.5 sets at minus 135. And the over 3.5 sets is minus 220. Now, for that history, I believe it is dead even. It is currently 4-4, so you are looking at what should be a very close matchup if both guys are fully healthy. Face off last time in the Olympic gold medal match, and you saw Joker win that one 7-6, 7-6 on clay. Wimbledon, though, we saw Alcaraz dominate Joker in straight sets. Face off in an exhibition. Last year in Saudi, and Joker did lose that one in 3. Face off in the ATP finals in 2023, saw Joker win that one in straight sets. Cincinnati, one of the best 3-set matches of all time. Joker won that one in 3. Wimbledon, Alcaraz beat Joker in the final in 5, and you saw clay in the French Open right before that. Joker did beat him in 4. So, point is, a lot of back and forth between these two in the head-to-head, and it seems like one potential concern is injuries for Alcaraz. He's had some issues in the past, Joker occasionally as well, but this will be a night match, so the heat should not be an issue. Do not expect any potential French Open cramping from Alcaraz in this one, which was an issue, but the point is the conditions should be fine, should be a phenomenal atmosphere, and I'm looking forward to the matchup. Now, first glance, over. I think you're looking at what should be a very competitive match, maybe a breaker in there, but both guys have looked solid, and I think that will result in what could be another 5-set marathon. Now, I think at the end of the day, most people will assume going in, well, Alcaraz is younger, Alcaraz has looked sharp, Joker dropped a set to 2 relative unknowns in the first 2 rounds. Alcaraz should win comfortably. I disagree. I think Joker's flipped the switch, and I said in the last episode I thought that Modric was a great prep match for Joker, but it was mostly watching that matchup as we ended up losing the lock on that one as we had the over in the Modric match against Joker. We thought Joker just upped the aggression a bit, and we thought that Joker seemed to tap into his old form, and we thought that he was dangerous to beat Lashka in straight sets, but it seems like Joker has really found his groove on the courts here in Australia, and it seems like Alcaraz, who's still been playing well, has been a little bit vulnerable at times with his serve. We saw Draper break back when he was serving for the first set. He won it anyway. But the point is, Draper came back trying to force some breakpoint chances, and then Draper got injured. We saw Alcaraz drop a set to Borges, so I think it's going to be a very close matchup here. I think that minus 205 is pretty disrespectful. I think Alcaraz should be favored, but I think that you're looking at what I think should be a minus 140 type of favorite. Minus 205 is a bit large. I think Joker, once again, to win is plus 175. If you want each guy to win, you can take him and both players win a set. If you want to get better pricing, for example, Alcaraz to win and Joker to win a set is plus 152. Joker to win and both players win a set is plus 280. Plus 280 is a phenomenal price. If you like Joker or you don't, plus 280 I think is an absolute bargain because I don't see Joker winning in straight sets. I think that Alcaraz will win at least 1, maybe it goes 5, but Joker has proven in the past that no matter what the age differential is, he can give Alcaraz problems, and I do think you're going to see a very competitive match unfold between the two of them. So I like the over in this one at around 40 for the games, 39.5, whatever you want to, whatever number you want to get. I can see getting into the potential, once again, high 40s if you get a 5-setter. So I am going to go with the over in this one, but for value, I'll go with Joker to win the match. I think there's some value, and I think if you want to go for either guy, honestly, to win, while you bet 4 or 5 sets, it's a pretty decent way of arbitraging. So the only way you lose this is if one guy wins in straight sets. But Alcaraz to win and both players to win a set at plus 152, and Joker to win and both players to win a set at plus 280. You bet both, you automatically win as long as no guy wins in straight sets. I kind of like that as an arbitrage option for this matchup. As for my actual prediction, though, give me Joker in 5. Moving on to the next matchup there. Going to look at the matchup between Shelton and Sonego. I would say an unexpected quarterfinal matchup here. So going into the actual preview of this matchup, Shelton is currently a minus 300 favorite. Sonego's around plus 250 for the spread here. You have Shelton minus 3.5 games. You have Sonego plus 3.5 for the over-under. You have around 41 or so. For the actual head-to-head history between the two of them, been competitive. Faced off 2 times. Faced off in the French Open, 2023. You saw Sonego win in 4. Faced off in Cincinnati, 2022. It was a 3-set marathon. Shelton did win 7-5 in the final set. Now, for the path of both guys have looked sharp here. Shelton has dropped some sets, but he's been good overall as he ended up beating Nakashima in straight sets, dropped a set to Busta, dropped a set to Musetti, and dropped a set to Monfils. So the point is, you've seen Shelton look very sharp. He has dropped some sets, but he has been good overall. Sonego, same boat. He's dropped at least 1 set in every round, ended up beating Wawrinka in 4, beat Fonseca in 5, Great win there, as he was in great form as well. Beat Morozin in 4 and beat Tien in 4. So both guys have been good, but also not foolproof, as they have been dropping some sets. So the point is, I think you're looking at a situation where you should see yourself really just expecting a war between the two of them. Both guys drop sets. Both guys have a lot of firepower. Both guys have held serve pretty well in the event. I see a lot of holds. I think that this total is high for a reason. I think it should be higher, actually. I'm going to go with the over in this one. Head-to-head history suggests that you're going to see at least 4 sets here. Both guys should be able to serve well, and Shelton's been involved in a lot of tie breaks. The over tiebreak line is not a half. It's set at a 1.5, actually. So expect at least 1-7-6 set, which bodes well for the over in this one. So if you get 4 sets with, once again, a breaker, and you get a couple, let's just assume for the sake of convenience, you get all 6 4s with 1-7-6. That gets you to 70. That gets you to 43. So I think 40.5, 41.5 is a bit low, and I think you're looking at what should be a very close and even battle for the value, though, on the side. Minus 300 is massive. I know I keep making arguments against Shelton. Yes, he's been great. I'm not going to try to pretend that he has not been great, but for value alone, minus 300 when the head-to-head split and each match did not go to straight sets, I think is insanely disrespectful. Sheldon was in a war against Monfils, then was pretty fortunate Monfils got injured, as he got to get through in basically 3 sets, because that would have been a potential marathon. As for Sonego, though, he's been very, very good. The forehand's been solid, the serve's been good, the volleying's been great, and we've seen Shelton involved in a couple breakers so far in the event. So if you're looking at a couple sets that could be toss-ups, then why would I assume that Shelton's going to be winning at minus 300? Then the price is very disrespectful. If you want to go for Sonego to win, I don't think it'll be a straight set win for Sonego. So if you want to go back to my bread and butter and go for the both players win a set combo play, you can. But minus 300 on Shelton feels insanely harsh to Sonego, and I disagree. I know Shelton's been here before. Shelton's had deep runs in Australia before. Sonego is not, but Sonego has been very good. Seems like the overall, I'd say, firepower has been on point for Sonego, where the shot selection has not been an issue. He's been very, very, I'd say, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe his performances, but he's been very, very aggressive, and he has been very sharp in terms of his actual decision-making. He has not really hesitated. He's not really second thought his opportunities. He's been able to go forward with, I'd say, concise game plans and precise game plans. So I do think that Sonego will have a nice game plan for Shelton. I think Shelton will look pretty sharp against Sonego as well. Give me a good old-fashioned war. Give me the over in this one. And for value, I will fade Shelton at minus 300. That price is insane. I think Shelton, in my opinion, should be closer to like minus 175. I think it's a lot closer to a coin toss than what the odds makers suggest. 300 is insanely disrespectful. Give me Sonego for the value in this one. For the last matchup, you have Sinner against de Minaur. Now, Sinner has owned de Minaur over the last few years, especially. Sinner is a 9-1 lifetime, and he's around minus 600 on the money line. Looking at the actual head-to-head history, though, Sinner has won each of the last, I believe it's 9 matches, and the one exception was a walkover. So every match that's actually been played between the two of them, Sinner's won. So the only win de Minaur has a walkover. So keep that in mind. In fact, each of the last 5 wins by Sinner were all on hard court, and they were also all in straight sets. So de Minaur has gotten his ass kicked by Sinner regularly, and we'll see if that history repeats itself here in this matchup. Now, Sinner, I said before, is minus 600. He's expected to roll. Now, de Minaur's been good, as we saw him beat Mickelson in straight sets on a Monday morning. Besides that, though, he has been kind of coasting for most of the event. Dropped 1 set to Cerundolo. Besides that, he's won every match in straight sets. As for Sinner, he's had a bit of a tougher go than we might have thought. Beat Jari in straight sets, beat Schoolcat in 4. That was kind of shocking. Beat Giron in 3, and then dropped the set to Rune. Looked like he was on the ropes physically, then got it together as he eventually did win in 4. So overall, it seemed like Sinner's main issue, he kind of had, I'd say, various ailments. It seemed like his stomach was bothering, though, and then he eventually had the injury timeout, and he was able to get back on track. Now, the issue de Minaur runs into is the fact that Sinner obviously has more firepower, and Sinner can push him around the court. De Minaur's improved with the firepower, still nowhere near Sinner's level. So if Sinner's fully healthy, he should win pretty comfortably. Now, the problem is, I think de Minaur, with the crowd, can win a set here. Sinner's dropped a set in 2 of the last 3 matches. We saw him drop a set to Schoolcat, who's Australian, so I think the crowd support can do de Minaur wonders here. Sinner, I'm picking to win. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. He was my pick pre-tournament to win. not going to, once again, rock the boat here. Yes, he's not been as dominant as we might have hoped for, but he's still winning, and I think that de Minaur will not be able to beat him in 3 out of 5. That's the issue, though, that a lot of players run into. It's one thing to beat Sinner, which is almost impossible on hard court unless you're Alcaraz. However, beating him 3 out of 5 instead of 2 out of 3 makes it even harder because I don't know if people can actually do it. Now, for the streaks that we're on here, Sinner's won 21 straight matches. He has been on the warpath. So even though I think Sinner will win, I will give de Minaur a sign of respect here. I will give him a set. Once again, he has not won a set in each of the last 5 meetings against Sinner, so keep that in mind. Actually, he has not won a set in each of the last, I believe it was 7 meetings against Sinner, but the last 5 meetings were on hard court. I'll stick with those. So give me de Minaur to win a set, but I'll go with Sinner to win in 4. I think it's a pretty solid, I'd say, bridge between complete domination from Sinner and de Minaur compromise, or I should say looking sharp at times against a compromised opponent. So assuming Sinner is still not 100%, think that de Minaur can wear him down physically for at least 1 set, but Sinner just has too much firepower. It's a bad matchup for de Minaur. I'll go with Sinner in 4 as my pick for this one. Forgot to mention, by the way, wanted to recap the actual quarter picks that we had for the outrights. Forgot to get into that earlier. So for the outrights that we had, first quarter, we had Sinner and Khachanov. Sinner we didn't actually bet, but we said he was going to win. And of course, Sinner's here in the quarterfinal. So we'll see if that ends up working out. Not a shock. It is what it is. Sinner's just too good on hardcore. For the second quarter, we had 2 swings and misses. We had Medvedev and Fritz. Didn't work out as Fritz lost in 4 to Monfils, and Medvedev did lose in 5 to Tien. Third quarter, we have an auto winner as we have Alcaraz at plus 110 and Djokovic at plus 180, and they face off against each other. So automatic winner there here in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, though, swing and a miss. We thought that Zverev's injury was more severe than it actually was. We took a couple long shots here. Had Ruud at 16-1, Humbert at 21-1, and Nishikori at 42-1. No regrets there. Took some swings. Once again, a guy withdraws from an event with a biceps injury. You assume that it's going to compromise his overall form, and it did not. Zverev's been great, but I still like the angle because Humbert at 21-1 did face off against Zverev. So if we did actually believe Zverev was injured, and he looked like it, Humbert could have upset him potentially in the last round, and that was 21-1. No regrets, but unfortunately did not work out. So not the greatest tournament for us for the quarters, basically split. But at least we're expecting a split here if Sinner does beat de Minaur. As for the outrights, though, we still have Sinner at 125 and Alcaraz at plus 360. So we do have our 2 picks who are still alive. Did not give out a long shot. Thought it was a waste of time. So we do have our 2 outright picks still alive and well. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the actual preview of the quarterfinals. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. For that, though, I want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Onyx Fantasy because they have a lot of items in their pick menu. They have, for example, a lot of ways to make money easily with profit boost and give me pick'ems. They have the NFL, college football, final game of the season, by the way. Notre Dame taking on Ohio State tonight. College basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. You can now specials and boost on Reflex entries. For my entry, I think for this one, I am going to look ahead to the NFL card for the upcoming weekend. I think for this one, I am going to go with Josh Allen rush attempts. I'll go with the higher on this one. I think he'll be active, and I think that he will definitely be the short yardage running option for the Bills in this game. Either way, though, when you do sign up for your new account, use the promo code SGPN. Claim special pick and first time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash. So once again, special pick and first time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash on fancy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. A reminder that if you want to try betting models, Rhythm can help you do that because Rhythm is the number 1 powered sports betting platform to help provide bettors with models, and they have a bunch of great overall ways of doing so. You can get predictions on money line spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model, copy one from the leaderboard, or once again, you could also let Rhythm build one for you in seconds. Track your props on the Rhythm app, NFL picks, NFL props, college basketball. Rhythm has it all, including NBA. A reminder, if you're skeptical of the actual platform, try it out for free. 7-day free trial by going to sportsgambling.com to Rhythm. Sportsgambling.com, RATHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Just finished previewing the quarterfinals. Now it's time for the lock and dog pick. For the lock, I am going to go to the matchup between Sonego and Shelton. I am going to go with the over 40.5 games here at minus 121. Now, for this matchup, Shelton has been involved in a lot of marathons and a lot of long matches because each of Shelton's last 4 matches have gone over this number. Monfils technically went under because of retirement, it was guaranteed to go over because he had 39 through 3 sets. So it was guaranteed to go over. Point is, though, each of Shelton's last 4 matches have gone a bit of distance, maybe not in terms of 5 sets, but in terms of longer sets. And I think that will result in this match going over as well. Now, here's a fun trend that does support the potential, I don't want to say auto win, if it goes 4 sets and not 5. Each of Shelton's last 12 matches have had at least one tiebreak. 12 straight with a breaker. So you are looking at what should be at least 175-76. It's why the tiebreak prop set a 1.5 instead of a half for this one. But if you're expecting a breaker and at least 4 sets, then I think the game total is too low for this one. Sonego, same boat. All 4 of his matches in this event have not ended in straight sets either. So with the exception of the first round match against Nakashima for Shelton, which was all a bunch of 7-6 and 7-5s. Every match for both guys has gone to at least 4. And you are looking at both head-to-head meetings in the past not being decided in straight sets. One hard-court meeting in the past in Cincinnati that ended up going to a breaker and a 7-5 in the third. So every match has been competitive between the 2 of them, and each match has been pretty competitive for them individually in their paths here to the quarterfinals. Give me the over. I see a pretty simple matchup featuring a bunch of holds, a bunch of firepower, and what I think should be at least one breaker. Give me the over. 40.5 as my lock at minus 121 as, once again, my first play on the show. For the dog, I am going to go back to what's worked for us so far in the event. I'm going to go back to the over 3.5 set parlay here for this one. I am going to parlay the Alcaraz over 3.5 sets with the Zverev over 3.5 sets, and that pays out at plus 133. So Alcaraz and Joker faced off 8 times before in the past, and 5 of those meetings did not end in straight sets. Last meeting was, once again, the clay Olympic gold medal meeting, which was not a straight set ending, but it could have been. It was a straight set ending, and it probably shouldn't have been, as you ended up getting 2 separate breakers that went in favor of one guy. I think it'll be a close matchup. They might go 4 or 5, but both players have been in good form. I think you're looking at what should be a very close battle, so I am going to go with the over the 3.5 sets here. I think Joker has a shot of winning, but I do think that you're going to see each guy win at least one set. So once again, I like the value there for a parlay leg, the over 3.5 sets. As for Zverev, he's a minus 280 favorite. But Paul's 2-0 in the head-to-head. So Paul's kind of had Zverev's number, but I think Zverev's a better player now than he was back then, at least to some degree. And it does seem like Zverev's serve has been a pretty important improvement for his overall game. Now you're looking at Paul, and he's had a decent amount of marathon matches, not even just in Australia, in this event, but in the tune-up events for the Australian Open. As 4 of Paul's last 7 matches did not end in straight sets. So Paul's been dropping sets on occasion, was able to beat, once again, Baena and Fekina in the last 2 rounds, but I think Zverev's a massive step-up competition. Zverev's been good. Did drop a set to Humbert in his own step-up matchup. Give me a pretty competitive battle here. I think Zverev wins in 4 or 5. But Zverev to drop a set to Humbert in the last round, so I can see a pretty similar story here. I think Zverev, though, will outlast Paul. Maybe I'm just skeptical of Paul's upside, and I think that Zverev has proven time and time again he's more reliable in the latter stages of Grand Slam matches, even though he tends to choke at some point. Paul made one semifinal in Australia a couple of years ago. That's it. Zverev's made a semifinal quite frequently over the years. So once again, give me Zverev in this one. But I do think at the end of the day, you're looking at Zverev probably winning with each player winning a set. So instead of gambling on who I think is going to win the match, because Paul's 2-0 in the head-to-head, give me Paul being a threat for at least one set to do some damage. So I am going to go with the over 3.5 sets in this one. I think if Zverev wins or if Paul wins, it goes to 4 or 5. So I'll bet on that instead as the safer option. So once again, the plays here for the men's quarterfinal matchups in Australia, the lock's going to be on Shelton and Sonego over 40.5 games at minus 121. For the dog, I am going to go with Alcaraz over 3.5 sets, parlayed with Zverev over 3.5 sets at plus 133. That's going to wrap it up, though. Remember, back once again in a few minutes with the women's quarterfinal episodes. If you do want some bonus tennis, have you covered there in a second. Till next time, find me on Twitter, Reichel Radio, find me on the NBA show, find me on the MLB show. And a reminder, you can also show support by subscribing on YouTube to the podcast and leaving a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.